Hello, my name is Dave, aka the Old Buick Guy, and you can parse that however you want. What this is going to be is kind of a video blog on my work on exploration of standard ignition systems and an improvement that was made in the 60s, the CDI or capacitive discharge ignition systems. Of course, starting in the mid-70s, those were all replaced with the HEI systems and further replaced by coil-on plug. So those systems are actually far more efficient and really probably can't be improved upon much at this point. But I'm not really interested in those. I have an old car, as you probably may guess. In fact, it's sitting on the other side of that wall. And this is an aid of possibly looking at a more efficient ignition system for it, just as a curiosity. So that's why I decided to take a look at this. So a little bit about me. I'm a retired electrical engineer and also interested in old cars and history. The Buick that I have is a 1940 and I got it a few years ago. I've done a lot of work on it and it's running pretty good now. When we get further into this, I may be looking at possible improvements to the CDI system, and if that's the case and I'm confident with the work, I will use the Buick as a test bed to see how it goes. So you can see the facility we have here. This is my shop, also the man cave in a way. This is mostly the mechanic side of the shop. I do have an electronic shop through the back door there to the right, which is more fully stocked electronics workbench. I have brought a few of the items out here. I will endeavor to do most of the work out here, but we may end up doing some of it back there, in which case I'll move the camera as we go. Additionally, you might want to know that to the left is a bar, and that's actually a very good place to go. When you have an old car, you definitely want a bar to be involved. Okay, so the approach here, I'm an engineer, so this is going to be very methodical. The first thing to do, obviously, is to characterize a standard ignition system and look at that, and then proceed to look at a CDI system and compare them. And by CDI, I'm talking stock. So rather than try to do this kind of work on a car where it's a lot more difficult, it's much better to set up and simulate something like this on the bench. And that's basically what we're working on here. You can see what I've done is I've gotten an old distributor off of eBay and bolted it up to an old motor that I also got off of eBay. eBay is actually a pretty nice resource for odds and ends, and they can go relatively cheap. And then obviously, of course, an ignition coil is at the heart of this, because we're talking a standard points ignition system here. Now, I could have just built the whole thing, fabricated it, and not used a distributor. But it occurred to me, okay, by the time I get all those parts and fabricate something, keeping in mind I've got to, grind the cam, the ignition, the points cam pretty accurately. I thought, well, to heck with that, I'll just see if I can get an old distributor, and voila, this is actually off of a Ford Y block from the late 50s. It was 10 bucks, got it, I basically just stripped it, cleaned it up, and it works great. So for my purposes, this is fine. The motor is a 24-volt motor that normally goes to power a scooter, a disability scooter, and I think it was about 15 bucks. So you can get these things cheap. The rest of the stuff is mostly stuff that I had. So what I've done first off is like I said, to build the distributor with the motor, get everything all lined up, try and get the vibration down to a minimum. My next step is going to be to add a strip across the back with spark plugs, so actually I'll have the whole system. Once we have that, then we can start characterizing. I have an ignition scope, with additional O-scopes in the back if we need them, and if we need memory scopes, I'll also be able to handle that. Once that's all done, then we'll move to Basically, we'll start with a stock. This is a Mark 10B. It was probably made in the late 60s, early 70s. Brand new. This was incredibly cheap on eBay. Normally these things go for close to $100 in good shape. I picked this up for like 15. So if you look, you can get it. Like I say, it was brand new in the box. I also have an A unit also unused, but this is a little bit more convenient because it's got the switch that you can basically cut the points and the standard ignition in and out of the picture. So we'll basically then do the same thing again with this and see what we got. Now, and then the third thing, which I don't have anything here to show right now, will be an improvement. Now I've got some interesting ideas on that, and depending upon how this part goes, then we'll see where that ends up going. So this is kind of a scientific exploration, and don't know necessarily where we'll end up. So next time, what I'll do is I'll go through basically the theoretical side of an ignition system, and the standard system, how it works, a little bit of the physics behind it, and then a CDI system, how it was developed. Originally a man named Frank Winterburn, Canadian, developed this and patented it, and then how it was improved upon, in quotes, later on, why it didn't overtake the standard system as far as the auto manufacturer is concerned, why they didn't embrace this, and then what possibly could be done to improve it. And again, this is for cars 1974 roughly and prior. Anything newer than that, you're basically taking a step backwards, because the HEI systems work pretty well, and the current coil on plug systems are very efficient and really can't be improved upon much. So this is basically strictly something from history here, and as a history buff, this is what I like to do. So we'll continue with this next time, and as a good friend of mine says, always build from the heart, and I'll see you in the bar.